Alright, Path of Exile players, let's check out all of the legendaries, or in Path of Exile's case, the unique weapons for Path of Exile 2. So, this is going to be my first time checking them out, but I'll give you guys some tips and tricks on maybe some of the terminology, because some of the stuff may require some of it. So, starting right off, we're going to be taking a look at, obviously, the weapons. So, starting right off, we've got this item called the Bryn's Hands Mark Wooden Club. It causes double stun buildup. The damage on this weapon is probably too low, but for leveling, it's like, sure, whatever. But next up, we're moving on to Wyland's Smithing Hammer. So we get some stats, and then it hits break armor. As far as I'm aware, you can actually go into the negative of armor, but also applies fire explosion when fully breaking enemies' armor. So if you're doing some sort of fire, sort of melee build, this could be something to consider. Again, some of these are going to be lower level, leveling weapons, but there is kind of a special effect. But I'm sure if you really wanted to apply fire exposure, and if you wonder what does fire exposure do, it provides a debuff of minus 20%. So maybe if you really wanted to, earlier on, I still don't see that much use of it, even if you're just playing a pure fire build to run this. Probably just, again, it's one of those low level uniques that if you get cool, it's fun for a few maybe hours in the earlier stages of Act 1. But the next up we have Frost Breath. So this is a slim mace. It says the damage on it is pretty mediocre, but all damage from hits with this weapon contributes to freeze buildup, and then you also get Culling Strike against frozen enemies. So what Culling Strike is when an enemy reaches the HP, and is different in PoE 2. Let me see if I can show it off. So how Culling Strike works in PoE 2, it's basically a lot worse. So Culling Strike makes it so normal enemies, once they're at 30% or below, it instas them. So it's just going to automatically delete them, and then magic enemies are at 20, rare at 10%, and then unique at 5. Now, is that still going to be kind of useful? Well, if you are at a boss fight, and then you can maybe weapon swap, sure. I would say it's only really utilized probably for uniques at 5%, because as you start fighting some bosses, they get harder and harder, and again, it would only be used for a weapon swap, or if there's any minions gain, you can maybe use, I don't know if Animate Guardian exists in PoE 2, but let's say you had it a minion to use this Culling Strike, sure, but again, it's too low. Again, leveling item only. Next up, we have the Trench Imbre? Trench Timber is, I think, what it's called. Anyways, it's a spike club that gives some sort of damage. It does give you 1 to 3. Oh, that's pretty good for a one-hander. 1 to 3 level all minion skills. So if you have 2 of these, well, that's double. And you get +6, and then increases and reduction to minion attack speed also affect you. So I'm wondering if you have double. I don't think it's going to double the increases and the reductions. So if you really wanted to build a build that can potentially give you some stats that you would stack for minions, there was one where minions attack damage would actually affect you, so that's pretty cool. It works with attack speed. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with cast speed. I don't know if there is a minion build out there that would want that, where you can do some sort of a cast or sort of a build, but nonetheless, because I don't see someone really using this to get actual attack, but I don't see too much use for it with the increased attack speed, considering the weapon itself is not good enough. If it was let's say minions attack and cast speed, then I would say, well, maybe you can still be kind of a caster and you get the benefit of the increased cast speed, then you can just use it for curse and stuff. But I think it's still probably a pretty good item for specifically the level of all the minion skills, so I think it's kind of cool. Next up, we are using, looking at Seeing Stars. So we get some cold damage, lightning damage, increased attack speed. Energy generation is doubled. So what energy generation is, several meta skills use this to generate energy, and so maybe for certain abilities you can utilize that. Now, the damage on it is actually probably pretty decent for leveling. Again, really low level items, it says, requires level 26 actually. Would you want to use this at 26? I mean, maybe you really need the energy. I'm not sure how it fully is utilized, but if someone knows, let me know down below. Next up, we have the Hog Hunt. So it is a two-handed mace. You get increased critical hit chance. Is that 15% base crit? Because then if you're using something that gets good, bonuses based on a crit, maybe you can utilize it. You also get Maim, which slows things down. So Maim makes it so the enemies suffer from 30% slower movement speed and reduce evasion rating. But I don't really care about this too much. Let's see, what's the level requirement for it? It doesn't have a requirement. Probably really good, actually. It doesn't have any requirement. So again, one of those leveling items. Then next up we have the Himorn's Hymn, which is an oak Greathammer. So we get increased stun buildup, we've got some strength, and we gain some life per enemy killed, and slam skills you use yourself cause aftershocks. Okay, I would say pretty cool. Again, for leveling, it's probably a pretty solid thing. It's only level 4 as requirement. Then the aftershocks are bursts of area damage that occur after the initial impact, and then if not otherwise specified, the aftershock will deal the same damage. So basically, that's actually pretty good. That basically doubles up your damage, right? Because it's like, it just says slam skills you yourself cast, or you yourself cause aftershock. So every single attack is doubled. I think that that's good. That's a really good one. Again, it's like a leveling, but if you maybe finished one character and then you can maybe go trade this with another player, you can level up, you know, with your awesome gear from, you know, the leveling of another class. I think it could be utilized. And then we have Trafina, which is a forge ball, which grants you some physical increased attack speed, causes increased stun buildup, always deal critical hits against heavy stunned enemies. Obviously, you have to stun the enemies, so is that really worth it? I think this is more exciting, for sure. Now, obviously, the amount of damage that it deals isn't crazy, but if you look at, is it called the Princess Saber? Whatever that sword was that was used for a long time in PoE 1, where like it attacks to double damage when the stats on it are pretty bad. But like, again, you're getting double, like as far as I'm aware of it, aftershocks do the same exact damage. I think this one has like easily good scaling potential. So far, it's like the only good one that I'm like, okay, that's a solid item for like, you know, your entire progression. Obviously, yes, the item would start to fall off, but you can get like rings, I think it's called steel rings, which will give you like, let's say, flat like fizz damage, and you just get all of your other damage increases like numerically on other stats, and then obviously it gets essentially doubled here. So I could see maybe someone wanting that. And like earlier on, like this is a great extra life per enemy killed. Next up, we have the Brain Rattler. Oh, this is making a return. Let's see, how does it work? So it's got some damage, level 16. It's got some physical lightning, and then it get increased attack speed. And then all damage with this weapon causes electrocution buildup. So it's gonna, I guess, let's see what it does. Electrocution is an ailment that interrupts the target's actions and prevents them from performing any action in less than 5 seconds. Only lightning damage from hits with specified skills contributes to, so it kind of like builds up. So it's like another variant of kind of like a stun or like a freeze, but it's an ailment. Just kind of cool. I wonder how long it lasts. It may be like based off of like the amount dealt, and then also like it may not work super good against certain bosses. But this is another interesting item actually here. This is the Chober Chaber, so it's a great hammer. We have plus 100 intelligence requirement. We get increased fizz damage, some mana, plus 5% critical hit chance. I'm guessing that has to be base. And then increases in reduction to minion damage also affect you. So this is a two-hander. Unfortunately, you can't mix this in with the other one over here. It would have been kind of cool if you can kind of have these as like 2 one-handers. Although I think there is something on the tree that does let you like dual wield two-handers. That could be maybe something to consider. I don't know if that would work. I don't know if it's specifically has to be a double two-handers, but there is one that lets you do that. But anyways, as far as it goes, maybe this could be used. Again, it's going to be up to your build, but this is, again, a more interesting item so far, so like I like that one. Next up, we have this Q Choli, which is a maul. So causes enemies to explode on critical kill for 10% as their life as physical damage. This is absolutely amazing. What level is it? 38. Okay. Because explode is like a very hard thing to get in Path of Exile, and especially in Path of Exile 2. A lot of this stuff has been nerfed for like the explode on kill, but the fact that we still have it is kind of cool. So we gain some attributes, increased fizz damage, 30 life per enemy killed. This weapon's critical hit chance is 100%. Wait, critical hits do not deal extra damage. Oh, so there is a big downside, but at least you don't have to scale into crit. There was a note earlier on like the ranger tree where like you can never crit, but you get like 40% more damage. So that could be interesting. I think it does the same thing. It's like crit hits don't deal extra damage, but you get 40% more. If there's another item that can do that, or if you can really benefit off of like special effects on crit, considering it's always 100, I don't think it's like the base crit is 100%, meaning that it gives you 10%. I'm pretty sure it just means that it just has 100. So whenever you kill enemies, they always explode. This has huge potential, again, for clear speed. How much you can invest into this. It doesn't seem like it's that bad in the earlier stages, but again, later down the line, you'll really have to scale it. But that effect, considering it's a 100% chance to do it, I think that's pretty cool. And then we have the Bloodthorn. This is actually another PoE 1 thing. Okay, so what does it do? So we have some physical, causes bleeding on hit. I'd say this is probably a skip. It's like a whatever you need. Anyways, next up, Pillar of the Caged God. So it's a quarterstaff. We get some increased range, increased area effect, attacks per 5 intelligence, extra attack speed for dexterity, 10% increased weapon damage per 5 strength. This is another really cool item. I like these like interesting things where like you can become a attribute stacker. Maybe it has potential. I would probably wait to see if someone actually uploads a video on it before doing anything with it, because like skills like Hollow Palm, which are all based on just getting stats, they work in PoE 1. Some of these items are very hard to invest into, as in they're very expensive to get that item, and then you have to get all these other items that give you crazy amounts of attributes, but maybe it could be utilized for an attribute stacking build, so that's cool. I like those kinds of things. Then we have Sentry Gothic Quarterstaff, so it's some fire damage, fire res, increased chance, 100% chance to ignite, probably a cool leveling item, but it's a skip in terms of like it being viable. The ending games, we have some extra, probably base crit, some attack speed, increased mana regeneration rate, and skills reserve 50% less spirit. So if you are using a build that uses spirit, which I would say probably is towards like the summoning build, because that's the stuff that would really want to use more spirit, you actually lose out on a lot of the base spirit, because spirit, let's see if it tells us whether, okay, so it uses like a reserve. Like, I guess if you wanted extra, like, auras, essentially, you could use it for that, but as far as I'm aware of, the only things in the early game that heavily benefit off of it, considering it's kind of like a leveling item, I would say, because it's like level 20, maybe you can utilize it for that, but again, you would lose out on scepters, which give you plus 100 on each, which I think is too hard to give up, but maybe if you really want to try to become like an aura bot, this could be maybe like a really cool item, so I would have to wait and see. Next up, we have Nazir's Judgment, so we have a quarterstaff that gives us increased physical damage. It is level 28. We have accuracy, increased stun duration, causes daze buildup equal to 100%. Is daze like another variant of like a stun? So some skills will apply daze. Daze builds up on target, at which point the target will become dazed. Daze lasts for 8 seconds, and dazed enemies will take 50% more stun buildup. There are also a number of skills. Oh, so it's just like building up some sort of like stun-ish thing. Okay. It's like whatever. And then next up we have the Sanguine Diviner. So we have 100% increased spell damage, and we gain some life per enemy killed, inflict bleed, 25% of mana cost converted to life cost. Maybe there could be a build for this, but it is only like a level 2 thing. I mean, if you get it earlier on, like 100% is cool, but like you can get a lot of things that would give you plus ranks to skills plus this, so I wouldn't sign it out completely though, because maybe there is some build where you can do a lot of cool stuff based on the amount of I think it's like that, what's called like that blood magic and stuff like that. So I think there could be some use with it. With Life Sprig making a return, another PoE 1 item. So we have some mana plus level of all spells, increased cast speed, leeches 1% maximum life when you cast a spell. I like this item. Fantastic leveling item. Wish it also had like some movement speed for like leveling, but I like it. It also grants a skill called Mana Drain. Next up we have the Volatile Wand. So this is going to be 100% increased spell damage. It also gives you Volatile Dead, increased critical hit chance of spells. Then we have gain mana per enemy kill and chance to not destroy corpses when consuming a corpse. Kind of cool use. I still like this one a lot more just because you get the extra cast speed. It's kind of nice. But probably a cool leveling item as well. We have Dusk Vigil, so it grants Firebolt, and then we have increased damage, and then we have life per enemy killed. Get some regen, triggers Ember Fullisade skill on casting a spell. So if that's getting another skill off of casting any spell, triggered skills occur immediately without attack or cast time and usually targets the cause of the trigger. Triggering a skill does not count as using it. Okay, so I don't really know how good this skill is. If the skill is good, then every single time you cast something, you can get it. And it doesn't have a requirement. I don't know if you can like scale that specific skill, but maybe you can. That's one I'm going to have to like test out. And then we have another staff over here, Terran's Shiver. Oh, there's another PoE 1 item. So we have, it grants us freezing shards, and we have increased cold damage, cast speed, increased freeze buildup. That's cool. Enemies frozen by you take 50% increased damage. Okay, if that's a more multiplier, I'm not sure how the exact wording on PoE 2's like damage works. I'm assuming that it's got to be like a more multiplier, otherwise like it's just 50% increased damage. But sometimes the key word is they take, or like, you know, you deal. It depends on the thing, but for the most part, I want to say that as long as that is like it doesn't seem like a bad item, especially because it's level 2, cool leveling item for sure. As far as being like super powerful end game, I mean, if that is a more multiplier, that's actually good. If not, then it's a skip, because like you're losing out on too much for a stave. Voltec Staff, so we get, it grants Lightning Bolt, you get increased lightning damage, some cast speed, increased mana regen rate, and then trigger Spark on killing a shocked enemy, which is like another like skill off of it. Kind of cool. Again, a lot of these are like leveling items, my guess. So since this leveling, maybe it's just like another 50% increased damage. It's not like a more multiplier. But if it's like that, then yeah, obviously it'd be good just for leveling. Anyways, the Searing Touch. So we have another staff over here. We have a Living Bomb, another skill. We have fire damage, increased chance to ignite, and we have increased magnitude of the ignite inflict. So I think how it works is it's based on the damage that you deal. So like how it works is if you deal fire damage, you have a chance to ignite the enemy, and then the damage is based on however much you deal, and then you have increased magnitude. I think this again another probably cool leveling items, level 16. Now we have Widow Hail, another awesome item from PoE 1 making a return. I like this item. This item has huge potential. There are builds out there with it, but the ranges on the rolls are crazy. So there is something on the tree, and I can give you bonus advice. There is something on the tree already where your quiver will gain like up to I think 80%, like double its stats, 80% like effectiveness of its stats, and then you get another 250 bonus. I don't know how that like interaction works, but like stack the best quiver and you probably have a cool build. Now this thing is cool because it can scale like infinitely. Obviously it's going to get better as your quiver gets better, but because there's another thing on the ranger tree, that could be something pretty cool. I like this. So far, this is like the coolest thing. Quill Rain making a return is just lets you attack super fast. That 40% less damage is a inverse negative multiplier, meaning that all your damage gets calculated and then it's 40, like minus 40% like after. So it's pretty bad in that aspect, but you get 100% attack speed. Now, why would you want like less attack damage? Well, you can run cast on crit. Cool item, awesome. One of my favorite things in PoE is like this. I like this item as well. So it's cool to see both of those bows return. And we have Splinter Heart, which is a recurve bow. We have projectile split towards +2 targets. That's kind of, you know, it hits one, splits to two. Kind of a cool thing. Maybe they're like okayish leveling for clearing speed. You also get projectile speed. There are builds where you can get as much projectile speed as possible. Then you get damage from the projectile speed. Maybe an interesting item, but I don't really see it being utilized like super late game. Then we have Death's Harp, also another PoE 1 item. Bow attacks fire additional arrow. That's a really rare stat in PoE 2, as far as I'm aware of. Then we have extra crit. Bow attacks fire 3 additional arrows. So we have 4 additional arrows here. That's really cool. We gain life per enemy killed. Getting that extra crit damage bonus, you'd have to scale into crit, but like those additional arrows, again, 4 additional arrows, that's nice, man. So maybe there would be some people potentially using that. And then we have Mist Whisper, so we're into the crossbows now. So we gain some extra cold damage, mana per kill, increased freeze buildup rate, attacks chain additional time. That's what you'd be using for a fantastic leveling item, considering that base stats are too low. I would say probably not going to be like utilized in the end game. Then we have the Rampart Tense Bow, so another low level item. We have bolt speed, physical damage, and then 100% chance to not consume a bolt if you reloaded recently, so you basically get like double shots. Kind of a cool, again, leveling item, because some of these weapons, the base stats are too low to really utilize towards the end, unless there's a way to scale them. Then we have the Dark Defiler. We have, we get Skeletal Warrior, some ints, mana regen, and 3% of damage as chaos damage per undead enemy. I don't know how many enemies, undead enemies that you can get, but maybe you can get some like cool amount of damage considering it's a one-hander. You could run it with the other thing that your attack speeds are based, like your minion attack speed kind of works with you, and then maybe you can make some cool build. I don't know if you're gonna get like, I don't know, like, I'm sure you could probably get 10 undead minions. It probably wouldn't be too difficult, but I don't know how many you can get. If you can get hundreds, then I mean, I don't know, at some point it starts to become good, right? Next up we have the Font of the Omen, it's Font of Power, the Omen Scepter. So it's going to give us Malice, and we got increased Spirit, extra mana, and then we have increased mana regeneration rate. When a party member in your presence casts a spell, you sacrifice 20% of your mana, and they leech that mana. Okay, so maybe a cool, interesting build for like some sort of like a, I don't know, an aura bot or something, but then you'd still, I don't know if it's 20% of like what, current mana? And then them leeching that, like this, if they leech the same amount, if it's not a good amount, then I don't know if it'd be worth it. But maybe you could do something really weird with it. So I like, again, unique items. And this is a final one over here. So we have Guiding Palm, which is a Shrine Scepter, which grants a skill Purity of Fire, which I believe this is. We have this. Oh, it gives you fire res, right? So you have additional fire resistance, and then if you get extra quality, I guess you can get up to 48 fire res on it. So if you're running something, I don't know if Righteous Fire is used in PoE too, but hey, maybe that could be utilized for that. Anyway, so it grants you that, and then on top of that, we get 4 to 6 additional fire damage, and then we have increased attributes, and then increased light radius, and 50% of life regeneration is granted to allies in your presence. Hey, that's pretty good. That way your minions can have a little bit more survivability. There are other ways to increase minion survivability. Would I really want to sacrifice this for like plus Again, on scepters, it also gives you that spirit, so you're not losing out. But I don't know, I like the levels of all the minion gems thing. I feel like that is probably what people are going to shoot for, so it might be kind of a skip unless you really need that regen. There are minion builds where you actually have like a minion like burn over time, and then if you're regenning, they can kind of instantly stay there and they don't have to like expire. So there may be some play with that. I wouldn't sign it out as completely useless, but I'd say for most people, if you're using it to kind of level up, that might be more of an advanced build. But man, that's it for the. I was kind of actually surprised by the uniques as far as it goes. There are some that I think are more interesting than others. Specifically, I think the bow ones are actually really cool, but there were the other ones over there where you get aftershocks on every single attack. I think this one has some cool endgame potential, but which ones were your guys' favorite? Let me know down below, and if there's any other cool interactions, let me know down below, because, well, there's going to be some really cool builds that always emerge off of very unique things, and there's some cool content creator that makes some sort of OP thing. Like, one of my favorite things that we made was, like, the bow build that can teleport with, like, SNS, like, Mark with Lightning Warp. One of my favorite builds of all time, and hopefully we can see some more, like, interesting things like that in the armor department. But anyways, that's going to wrap up all the legendaries, or I'm going to call it legendaries because a lot of my viewers come from Diablo, so it kind of makes sense, but they are technically called unique items. But we're going to be covering all of the other ones. There could be other ones that may open up the doors for even crazier builds, but if you guys want to see those, subscribe to the bell. I'll try to cut these up in like armor, weapons, and then I think like rings and jewelry or something in that. Anyways, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.